decided to try making videos here at school just for a little change of pace. So here's our first lesson on geometry, on finding the area of parallelograms. So with our new guided notes page, go ahead and fill in the top two pieces that we need. We need our learning target, both the standard and the description, and then our I can statement. What's our goal for today's lesson? I can calculate the area of a parallelogram or find one of its missing measurements. Now for this part here, you don't need to write anything down. I just want to give you a quick little explanation so you can kind of see why the formula works the way it does. So we already know how to find the area of a rectangle. We know it's just base times height, the two measurements of a rectangle. But today we're going to work with parallelograms. Notice a parallelogram is kind of like a rectangle, almost like a box that somebody sat on, so it kind of got squished and leaning to the side. To find the area of it, think of it more like a rectangle. If I were to chop off this piece here and move it over here, notice I would effectively make a rectangle. Same amount of stuff. I didn't lose any material. All I did is kind of rearranged where some of the parts are to make a solid rectangle. So that's the part I want you to be thinking about today is, what would this look like as an actual rectangle? Because for my rectangle, I'd need my base and my height. And the key is always look for that right angle there for your measurements. So notice the two measurements I need when it's a rectangle, my base and my height, are not just the two edges of my parallelogram. Notice I didn't need this slanted side here. When you're finding the area of a parallelogram, ignore that slanted side. You want to find the flat bottom and then the height, which always goes up at a right angle to it. So that's going to be key for today. So now we are in our notes here. First, we're going to fill in our definition. The area of a parallelogram is the product of the base and the height. So go ahead and fill that in. And then maybe give yourself a little reminder. What does the word product mean? Hopefully you said to yourself, oh, well, that means they're going to multiply. That's correct. You're going to multiply your base and your height together. So in symbol form, which is how you're going to see your formula written most of the time, it's just base times height. You're just going to multiply those two measurements together. Again, your base is your bottom piece. Your height is that vertical distance. Always look for that right angle to find your height. Okay? So let's do an example together. We're going to find the area of this parallelogram. First thing we need to do is find our base and our height. So our base is from corner to corner. What is the length, or how many units long is that? Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 units long. Notice I didn't care that this one kind of went into this piece or this one wasn't. You're not looking at the squares, you're looking at the edge. It's 4 units long. Then we look at our height. Think of it as from the top straight down to our bottom. Think of that right angle. How many blocks high? Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units high. If it helps, think of it as, what if I got rid of this piece over here and instead filled it in over here? Notice how now I made a nice whole rectangle. It's 4 by 7 tall. So my formula was area is equal to base times height. So I'll go ahead and I plug in my numbers. My base is 4. My height is 7. So 4 times 7. So my area is equal to 28. Now, here's the big piece. You can't leave your answer naked. Okay? It can't be just a plain old naked number because it represents something real. It represents the amount of space inside of the shape. When they don't tell you what units you're using, we just use the generic word units. And units for area are always squared. It's always how many squares could fit inside of this shape. Okay? So, forgot to fill this part in down here. 4 units and 7 units. But that's all you do to find your area. You find your base and your height. Sometimes that's easy, sometimes you have to go find it, and then you just multiply them together. So again, the key is finding your height. So this part you don't have to write down, but you might want to jot a little note for it somewhere in your notes. Your height is not just this other measurement. The height is whatever your base is, in this case 12. Your height is straight up from that base. So think of it as going straight from the base up to the top in a straight line. No angles, no sliding, a nice right angle. So always look for that right angle measurement to know when you've got your height. So let's try a couple together quick. Remember, area is equal to base times height. So we need to find both the base and the height. Your base is from corner to corner. How many units long is this edge? Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units long. How high is it? Well, you want to go straight up from the bottom to the top. Straight up, not at an angle. So I don't care how long this angled side is. I want to know what's this distance going straight up. Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units tall as well. Again, if it helps, think of it as if I cut off my rectangle or cut off my parallelogram here, if I took this part over here and moved it in to fill in this, I would make myself a solid rectangle that's 5 by 5. So to find my area, I just multiply 5 times 5. That gives me 25. They didn't tell me the units, so I say units squared. You must show how you plug the numbers into your equation. You can't just jump to an answer. You will not get credit for it. So let's try another one. Here, we've got 18 for our base. And our height, again, look for that right angle, is this vertical distance here, 35. So it's just 18 times 35. So we do a little multiplication off to the side. 5 times 8 is 40, carry the 4. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9. Add the 0 to start the next row. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. Add it all up, and we get 630 centimeters squared. How many little square centimeters could I fit inside of that shape? So 630 centimeters squared. So next one. Here they didn't draw us the picture, but we don't need the picture. We just need to know what's our base and what's our height. So it's equal to our base, 6.5, times our height, 4.25. So we need to do a little decimal multiplication, but we can handle it. 4.25 times 6.5. Notice I didn't have to line up my decimals. All I want to do is multiply. We'll come back for the decimal at the end. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is 21. Remember to start that second row with a 0. 6 times 5 is 30. Carry the 3. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3 is 15. Carry the 1. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 1 is 25. So if you're a little rusty with your adding, this can help you out a little bit. If you've got this down, no problem. You didn't need much of my help. You could do this one on your own. So we get 27625. Remember, last step, count how many decimal places you had in your problem. That's how many go in your answer. So I had 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. If I went too quickly through any of these, feel free to slow it down, pause, write stuff down, and then hit play or rewind and hit play again if you need to hear a problem a second time. So now let's go the opposite way. Just multiplying two numbers together, not too hard. But what if we know the area, but we need to figure out one of our measurements? So here, I know my height, or my base is 6. That's my base. I don't know my height. It's missing. But I know my area is equal to 24. Well, this is another one where using your formula goes a long way. Area is equal to base times height. Fill in the numbers that we know. Normally, we knew the base and the height. This time, we know the area and the base. So my area was 24. My base was 6 times my height. If you notice, this is just like an equation that we spent a whole unit solving. What did they do to h? Well, they multiplied times 6. So I'm going to divide by 6. But I'm going to do the same thing on both sides. So you're just solving your equation. 24 divided by 6 gives me 4. 4 is equal to my height. So my height is 4 inches. All I do is plug in whatever information they gave me and work backwards, solve my equation to find my missing piece. So find the height of a parallelogram if its base is 9 feet. So I went ahead and drew myself a parallelogram, and its area is equal to 27 square feet. I want to figure out what is my height. So I got to work backwards. Again, start with your equation. Area is equal to base times height. My area is 27. My base is 9. I want to find my height. So I'm going to write it over here so I got a little bit more room. What did they do to h? Because I want to solve my equation. Well, they multiplied times 9, so I'm going to divide by 9. But I got to do it to both sides. 27 divided by 9 is 3. So 3 is equal to h. 3 is my height. So I have a height of 3 feet. So all it is plug it into the problem, find your answer, or fill in what you know, and then work backwards. Solve your equation to find your missing piece. All right, last piece. This is where we really put our work together. We want to know what is the area of this shaded region, okay? I kind of like to think of it as this was a big cake. Somebody that was kind of rude came and stole a big chunk out of the middle of your cake, and we want to know how much cake is left over. Well, it's just a 3-step process. Find the area of the big shape, find the area of the smaller shape, and because they took it away, there's less material there. They stole away that middle section. We're going to subtract the 2 pieces. So the big shape is a parallelogram. It has a base of 21, a height of 12. So 21 times 12. Do a little math off to the side. Get a 2 and a 4, a 1 and a 2. So I get a total of 252 inches squared. That's for my big parallelogram. Now we work on the rectangle on the inside. This is the piece that's missing. So if the whole thing was there, it would have been 252, but I got to subtract this away. So my area is 7 times 13, base times height. 7 times 13 is 91 inches squared. And you could do a little multiplication problem off to the side if you needed to. But 7 times 10 is 70. 7 times 3 is 21. 70 and 21 is 91. And last step, since they took away this piece, basically somebody cut the middle out of it, think of it kind of like losing the middle of a donut. We lost that, so we're going to have to subtract. 2 minus 1 is 1. Do a little borrowing here. 15 minus 9 is 6. And I get 161 inches squared. Remember, don't leave your answer naked. Don't just give me a plain number. I need to know, what does it represent? It represents 161 square inches, or inches squared. Okay? So now we've learned how to use our area of a parallelogram formula to solve a variety of different problems.